Hi guys, welcome to this new technique breakdown, and this one is of UFC Fight Night 158. We saw Justin Gaethje knock out Donald Cowboy Cerrone with a very nice right hand and then finish it off. So a couple things before I do the breakdown. So first thing, before this happened, what we saw is that Justin threw a couple nice hooking punches and overhands to kind of soften up Cowboy a little bit before he managed to finish the fight. And these punches weren't necessarily so hard that Cowboy was totally out of it, but the cumulative effect obviously plays a role. So I think that was one factor. The second thing that I want to mention is that, and you'll see this in this exchange, is that what repeatedly happened is Donald would step forward and then Justin would kind of trade with him as he tried to angle off towards his left side. So that's a repeated tactic from Gaethje's part, and it worked quite well. And that's how this sequence here starts that kind of ends it all for Cowboy. Now, one other thing I need to mention is that if you watch Cowboy's fights, he likes to fight in these kind of forward leaping movements. There's one version of it which is called bulldogging. It's where you step with the left foot and punch with the right hand, and then step through with the right foot and punch with the left hand, doing counter rotations. He sometimes does something like that, and sometimes he does what he did here. In this case, he leapt forward pretty much, and he kind of threw a fake right hand and then kind of launched himself at Gaethje with that left hand. That missed, so we'll talk about that right away. Now, obviously, Gaethje has seen Donald in the past. They know each other well, they're friends, and he was very well prepared for that. So here's where the sequence starts. So like I said, that right hand is a feint fake. He's just throwing it, and that launches Cowboy forward into the range that he wants to be to get his offense going. And then he throws that left hand at Gaethje, who is quick enough to start to slightly get out of the way, and he is launching that left hand to counter. Now, as you can see here, something I harp on endlessly is defense before, during, and after. Where are the hands? They're over here. The head is wide open. So there's an arc from Gaethje's left side towards that hook punch, towards the chin, that is wide open. Now, moving on to the next frame, what you'll see is from here, he just barely misses. Now, here you see that Cowboy tried to get his hand back up again, but he just barely misses. And I'll blow this up a little bit so you can see it better, but take a look at this here. Gaethje just misses and goes behind the head, and maybe clips Cowboy a little bit. I don't think it was that hard a punch when it comes to the impact, but most of all, what happened afterwards is what set up the end. But he could have landed that punch on the temple area, and if that would have happened, the damage would have been significant. So Cowboy's a little bit lucky here that he doesn't eat that punch and go down right away. So bring this back. So that's a counter lead hook that left hook, sorry, that Gaethje throws, and it was perfectly timed. And this is something he does consistently. He timed his counters well, and he hits so incredibly hard that if he catches you with one of those shots, you're in a world of trouble. So this is the moment that he just misses. And then the next thing that happened is that it goes over. So he's kind of going behind the neck and half pushing, half slamming into the back of the neck a little bit. And you can see that Cerrone goes down. He kind of slips. So we will never know if it's an actual, if he was stunned and kind of fell, or if he actually just slipped or was slightly off balance. I would venture to say that it looks more like being off balance to me than anything else. Regardless, he is now in a lower position. So his whole frame is low and Justin's frame is high. So this means that if he stays there, that Justin's going to go for that right uppercut, which Cowboy is going to have a huge problem with to avoid that one. So what he does, he tries to adjust and he throws that left hand. Now, going back to the previous frame, I want you to look at the orientation. So Cowboy is oriented this way. He is oriented away from Justin, and Justin is oriented on Cowboy. So that means that what Cowboy has to do, he is going to have to make a sharp turn towards his left to land whatever shot he wants to do. And this has issues. Most of all, it costs time. Time that Justin, who doesn't have to reorient, can use right away, which he does. So this is the next frame. This is what happens. Cowboy rises up from that leaning forward position, slightly off balance, and he throws this nice left hand, but you can see that Justin moves his head out of the way. I'll draw the arrow better. So he moves his head out of the way, and you can see that this is where the punch misses. Now he's got a nice extension. It would have been a great shot had it landed, but it didn't. Now remember that Cowboy is still trying to recover from being slightly off balance and half slipping. And the next thing that happened is, and this is the key frame, this is the moment where Justin goes from that slip into the counter right hand. So I paused it here so you can see that his hook is on the way and he's going to pick up that elbow a little bit more. And you've got the trajectory coming right in. Notice once again, hands are not in a position to defend anything. And final point, chin is high. So Justin has nothing that is standing in his way to stop that punch. And because his timing is good, obviously the next thing that happens is predictable and it lands. And you've got a nice shot here of the impact of that right hook. And it was a really good shot. Well timed, it's got it's turning into it. So quite a bit of power. Clearly, I mean, he was down. Cowboy was down. You can see him watching, but if you rewatch the fight, you'll see that he was kind of struggling. Do I put another hand down or do I get back up again? He was struggling. Now Justin, who had been circling already, played it smart and he backed up a little bit. Again, resetting, taking stock and watching what Cowboy does. He was very smart. That's one of the hallmarks of an experienced fighter. He just go nuts, but he thinks about what he does and he keeps an overview of the battlefield, so to speak. So he's smart. He sees that Cowboy is still a little bit out of it and he moves in and he's going to use his left hand to try to set up that right hand. So kind of grab the neck, control the head, and then we get this uppercut that's going to come in. Now, when you do watch what Cowboy does here, he's trying to get up, but he's clearly still not 100%. I mean, there's no doubt that he was very much affected by that first right hand. Now, next part here, Justin has acquired the neck, and we get into what is called braced striking. So what he does is that left hand is going to either pull forward or slightly pull down, which means that from here, Cowboy cannot pull away from the punch. So that stops the target that Justin's going to go for from moving away. And at the same time, that uppercut is going to come in there. So the result is that Cowboy's head's going to take all the impact of that punch. And it's very well done. Justin, as he moved in, he grabbed control and immediately launched two nice uppercuts that Cowboy had to eat. Very predictable and also really well done is that once your opponent starts to cover up against those uppercuts, then the high line becomes open again from the side. So at first, as you start throwing uppercuts, then what the opponent typically does, he puts something in the way, he closes his guard, elbows, whatever. So that means that you can now come in from the side because there's no more protection from his arms there, because you have to adjust to protect against the uppercuts. So here you see that very nice short right hook. And it's deceptive a little bit in the sense that a lot of people have argued that, well, it doesn't look like a really big power shot. No. Gaethje hits hard. The guy hits real hard. And once again, we see that he here keeps control. So it's very hard for Cerrone to flow with the punch or roll with it or absorb it well. It's just not going to happen. And if you watch the video closely, you'll see that his chin rotates again, which once again is one of the ways that you knock somebody out. So really nice right hook. And of course, this is the result. So Cerrone drops and Gaethje is watching. What do I do next? Now, once again, watch this face. Some people, Cowboy was a little bit upset after the fight at first, kind of like, not agreeing with the referee. Why the hell are you stopping the fight right away? But in my opinion, it was a clean stoppage, even to the point where Justin at first kind of looked at the referee and then he said, okay, he's not stepping in. And then he does a couple of short shots once again, hitting Cowboy, who, as you can see, he's not protecting himself. So watch this phase in slow motion if you have to, but you'll see that Cowboy doesn't make an effort to protect himself because he's very much still affected by the accumulation of punches he took very quickly in succession. And that's one of the rules in MMA, is that if you're not protecting yourself, then the referee will step in. Now, Justin's doing a lot of quick shots here, and I mean, they landed, and this was obviously the end result. Now here you can see that Cowboy is kind of arguing with the referee, like, hey, what are you stopping at this? And this is one of the things that if you haven't experienced it, it's hard to understand. But one of the things is that you might get dropped and you end up on your knees. So you get dropped and you fall down, and the next thing you know, you're fighting again. The brain doesn't necessarily register that knockdown as clearly as you would think it would if you're watching it from the crowd, from the audience, as we are. So you get dropped and it might be a flash knockdown, and in your mind, you're immediately fighting again. However, in real life, actually, a few seconds maybe have passed, or even if it's just a second. Remember Romero getting dropped by Costa a few weeks ago. You might feel like nothing's really happened, but actually you were out of it. And this is the moment where the referee has to step in, because from this position here, anything that Gaethje is going to throw is going to land. Cowboy is not reacting. As we clearly saw here, he took a couple of shots here, and it's a clean stoppage. There's not really an argument to be made. So, and obviously we get to the final part where Justin deservedly lets off some steam. So overall, a couple of lessons to take is that if you do the flurry forward and launch yourself forward as Cowboy likes to do, is that it is extremely dangerous to getting countered, because that leap forward, that launching forward has advantages. It has a speed advantage, but you are committed. And if you've got a guy who's good at angling out and countering with shots, you're going to kind of like run into a blender. That's what or a sledgehammer. So that's what happened here. And then obviously, as always, as I've mentioned many times before, orientation is critical. As you can see here, Justin's oriented on his opponent. Donald is not. He needs to make a turn, and that takes time, fractions of seconds that he didn't get. And that buys the time for Gaethje to get out of the way. Counter hook comes in, it lands, and then it's pretty much all she wrote. So that's pretty much it for this overview of the fight. I liked it a lot. I very much liked the interviews that they did afterwards. I mean, it shows that you don't have to be this trash-talking guy to give a good fight to the crowd and make everybody glad to watch what you're doing. So I hope we see more of that. That's it, guys. I want to thank you for watching. As always, like, share, subscribe. You can follow us on Facebook. There's got a bunch there that doesn't make it to the YouTube channel, but you can watch that there. And obviously, I've got a lot more to come. Thank you, and I will talk to you next time.